It's Friday Coffee with your mortgage man, Eric. So, today we're going to do some Did You Knows. And I think these are good ones, right? These are, little fun fact type of things that, half of the people may know. I think these are some oddities. I'm going to save the best one for last. And in my opinion, I'd say less than 1% in our industry know about this fact coming up. So stay tuned to the end. First fact, FHA loans. So there is a misnomer out there that you can only have one FHA loan at a time. And, for the majority that's correct, but there are exceptions. You indeed can have two FHA loans at one time. One of the biggest times, or the biggest exceptions to that rule, is when you're relocating. So, example, borrower from Texas, San Antonio, Texas, has an FHA loan on his home in San Antonio. He's getting transferred to Phoenix, Arizona. He doesn't want to sell the home in San Antonio. Just to rent it out. It's fine. He can do so. And then he can obtain FHA financing here on a property in Phoenix. Yes, that can happen. Is it a slam dunk? No, I'm not going to say that. It is a little difficult. LOEs, letters of explanations, a second level review from underwriting, right? There's some things that got to take place, right? And you're not going to slam dunk that deal in 20 some days. But the moral of the story is you can indeed have more than one FHA loan at a time. Now, moving on, the second, three of them here, so stay tuned for that third one. The second fact, if you will, is in the state of Arizona. So I know this is just for the state of Arizona for this particular item, but in the state of Arizona, it is a policy, a regulation, that the seller must pay for the septic inspection. So I'm sorry, that's not a non-negotiable item. Seller has to pay for the septic inspection. Just the inspection. If there's anything wrong with it, right, the remedies are negotiable. But the inspection itself has to be paid for by the seller. Thus, the listing agent should be ordering that on day one. As a matter of fact, the listing agent should be having that ordered when they take the listing, right? And they're good for how long? 6 months, 180 days. So, if you can't sell the home in 180 days, I don't know. Topic for another discussion, right? But I would assume, especially in the Phoenix market, and that, look, not everybody has septics. I get that. But if you do, and you should be able to sell that home in 180 days, you should get the septic inspection done now before we even start getting into contract, because a lender, a good lender that is going to be asking for that on day one. Hey, you got the septic inspection? Let's see the results. Let me get that into underwriting now. Let's get this reviewed now, right? And if there are issues with that septic inspection, I'm sure the listing agent and the seller would like to have a discussion about that. How much is that going to cost, right? $2,000, $2,500, $3,000. They're usually not cheap. So anyhow, wow, this is going to be a short video this week. I'm not used to that, and you probably aren't either. Third and final thing. Now, this is, man, I've actually have never ran into anybody other than an underwriter that knows about this fact. VA loans. So there's a huge misnomer out there that unless you're married, you can't go on a VA loan. And look, for the majority, that is correct. But it's not true completely. Example, fiance, the other fiance can go on the loan. Another person can be on that VA loan, not a non-occupying co-borrower. I'm not saying that. But, example, son is unmarried, and the mother lives with the son because she's, elderly. Obviously, they are not married. There's a relationship, though. They're living together. The son would like to buy a primary residence. And here's how it works. The mother can go on to help with debt versus income ratio issues, potentially, right? But here's the requirement. You're going to need a 12.5% down payment. That's the facts. That's how it works. When you're going to add somebody else to the VA loan that is not married to the veteran, it's a 12.5% down payment. People are like, well, then why would you do that? Because, it's zero down payment. See, and that's kind of another misnomer, that people assume that every veteran out there is going to do a VA loan and doesn't have any money and is not going to put anything down. That's not entirely true. When you do enough VA loans, you find out that they have some funds and they'll put 5 or 10% down occasionally. So here's how and why a 12.5% down payment would work. So that veteran has money for down payment, but his credit scores aren't too high, right? They aren't too nice, right? They're lower 600s, even mid 600s. And he can't get a normal conventional loan, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. It's not firing. It's not giving us the approve eligible, right? It just isn't. Or even if it was, let's say that veteran has a 620, 640, 660 credit score, wants to put 10% down, 15% down. With that low of credit score, he's going to get beat up dramatically on that rate when it comes to the Fannie Freddie matrix pricing, which briefly what that is basically the higher the credit score, the better the rate. The lower the credit score, the higher the rate. There's a matrix in there, which, look, I get it, it sucks, but it is what it is. Those billboard rates that are advertised, newspaper, television ads, right, all that stuff, that is, if you read the fine print, right, that's 740 plus FICO scores, 20 or even 30% down, right? It's not for a 640 FICO score kind of borrower. So that borrower, that veteran says, okay, I need help, debt versus income ratio. My mother's getting Social Security, a little pension. I need her to be on the loan for my debt versus income ratios to work, right? Follow me here. Well, I was going to put 10% down on a conventional loan, so we look at the matrix, and he's going to end up paying 5 1/4 or 5 3/8 on an interest rate to go conventional, and we'll have monthly mortgage insurance that he's going to get beat up on as well. Or we go 12.5% down, VA loan, today's rate, because rates have gone up in January, right, man? So rate today for VA is 4.375, right, somewhere in there, right? You could see about a 1% lower in the interest rate and no monthly mortgage insurance. Bam! Right? You could see. Now look, how often does that happen? Not often do you get into this. But to know that is a feasible option. And when people ask you, I heard that it's only a spouse, a married spouse, that can go on the VA loan with the veteran. That is not true. Somebody else can go on there. Buying as a primary residence, not a non-occupying co-borrower, will be a 12.5% down payment. And guess what? Here's another key thing with that. You're not closing that loan in 28 days either. Why? Because those loans, we actually have to send over to VA when they're not married, and we have a borrower that's not married. VA actually has to sign off on it as well. And as you know, anything at the government level does not happen quick. So you got to allow yourself about an extra 2 weeks for the sign off. Kind of like a USDA loan, if you're familiar with them, at the end. Wow, and I ended up still getting up there in time. My apologies. That last one, that last fact on VA loans, man, I hope that you found that interesting. And take that with you. Put that in your arsenal for information. If you're a realtor, if you're a consumer, maybe you know somebody that is a veteran, and this might open up some more options to them. I do quite a bit of VA loans. I love VA loans. I have 2 designations for VA financing. With that said, make it a great day, a better tomorrow, and a wonderful weekend. It is Friday Coffee with your mortgage man, Eric. We'll see you.